This past year, this current growing season, the farmers have harvested is the second largest crop in history. Even with the floods in Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois, it's the second largest crop in history. And to add a little more to Mark's statement about the efficiency, we're seeing corn yields increase at a rate from 3 to 5% every year. And that's due to production technology, it's due to seed technology. And right now, the average USDA is projecting 153, 154 bushels per acre. And in 2030, many are projecting that U.S. corn farmers will average 300 bushels per acre on less land. And so that productivity continues to grow. But that's one aspect that the U.S. corn industry has looked at alternative uses for their product, ethanol being the number one alternative use, as livestock feed and exports have remained pretty flat for the last 15 to 20 years. Yes.
Wayne, if you recall last February, we read a great deal about planted intentions, what farmers' economics looked like at that point. By the time we got to the end of March, the economy had changed enough that farmers reevaluated that and planted a whole lot more corn acres at that point. As corn growers and the association look at the economy now and the input costs, are they a lot like the food price we're seeing? The fertilizer, the input, the seed costs are still at those high peaks that we've not seen those come down yet? And will that impact what farmers actually plant for next year versus what they may be thinking about now?
Dale, I think that what you asked regarding the inputs and planting decisions is going to be really, it's unknown at this point. Growers saw their input costs go up, diesel fuel, land rents, fertilizer, and with the anticipation of energy costs, petroleum costs coming down, the anticipation was those inputs would follow. Diesel has decreased at a slower rate than gasoline, but it has seen some decrease. But fertilizer costs are not coming down, and that begs another question. We heard all along it was a supply-demand factor on fertilizer, low value of the dollar, the same issue we saw with commodity prices. But those fertilizer prices have not come down. And so the corn price right now is at a point, it's below the cost of production. And so growers are looking at alternative crops. We saw a lot of wheat go in the ground last year in Ohio. And we're going to see, we saw more soybeans go in the ground last year in Ohio. And I think the trend is we'll probably see wheat flat, soybeans up, and corn probably flat to slightly down because of those input costs.
Dwayne, how much time would you expect for lagging when the price hits its peak versus coming down for them to adjust their prices?
But we've heard, the question was lagging and bringing the prices down. And we've heard all along it's going to take anywhere for a year to 18 months. And the question we have is, was there any lag time to increase those prices? Because corn, even though it went to $7 a bushel or $7.88, there were not many corn producers that sold their corn for $7.78. There's future contracts, there's hedging, and such. And that is an issue that when you see a Chicago board price flash up on the screen, those local cash prices are often much lower because of the availability, the closeness of the market. In fact, that's the situation with Ohio wheat. The Chicago price is $5.30, but Ohio, when a grower in Ohio wants to sell their wheat, they're only getting $3.30 to it. There's an oversupply of that product right now. So we hope the lagging is just not an excuse that they were good marketers and purchased their corn or purchased their soybeans and wheat at a much earlier date, a much later date than they would. But if you really look at the facts and how much of the corn is in these products, it's significant. There's a poster over there that talks about the tale of two corns. And there are two types of corn that are predominantly used in the United States. There's field corn, which is 99% of the corn grown, and there's sweet corn, which is less than 1% of the corn grown. Field corn, the amount of field corn that goes directly into food consumption is less than 9% of the total crop. It's a small piece of the overall crop picture. And you look at some of the food products over here on the table. A box of cornflakes contains 6 cents worth of corn in a box of cornflakes. A 2-liter bottle of non-diet soda contains just as much corn as a box of cornflakes, about 6 to 8 cents. And the question is, if corn was the main reason for food prices going up, why did we see food prices that do not contain corn continue to rise? Diet Coke, for instance, any diet pop has no corn, no agricultural products whatsoever in it, yet it continues to rise at the same pace as those products that do have the high fructose corn syrup blend in their system. So when you look at the amount of corn in each percentage of these products over here, it's very, very small. It's just not the ear of corn that goes into a whole box of cornflakes. So a small percentage of the total price of corn should be reflected in a box of food.
And what's a reasonable lag time in your organization's opinion?
Organization's opinion, we think the lag time, we should have already seen it.
You, this chart you showed us with the peak versus current, what is this current number compared to, say, a more normal price a year ago, 2 years ago? Are we still above what you've seen in the past?
I think you have to really look at the whole corn price, the whole marketing picture. Well, a lot of folks compare the price of corn to 2006 or 2004 when corn was $1.80, $2, etc. Keep in mind that price of corn was just under the cost of production. As the cost of production continues to rise, you'd expect the price for your goods to continue to rise. So this fallacy of saying we need to get corn back to 2004, 2005, if that's the case, farmers like John and Steve will tell you they're not going to plant any corn. It's just not feasible. It's just not economical. They're not obligated to plant corn. They're not obligated to plant soybeans. They're not obligated to plant wheat.
But this 380 number is still,
And that was at
50% above what we've seen in
that was at
the past.
November 14th, November 28th. It's lower. And keep in mind, as the price of corn continues to decline, or declines in that time frame of 1997 to 2006, there was a point in time that corn was below the cost of production. The federal government and the farm program had to come in and make up that difference for those low-value commodities. So that 9-year time period, they were producing corn on average at 25% below the cost of production. The federal farm program came in and boosted those prices up to ensure they would produce the crop to have the supply for the following year. The role of a corn grower, the role of a soybean grower, a wheat grower, they prefer to get their price from the marketplace. They would rather not rely on the government subsidies to continue their operation. So as prices continue to go up, those government payments decline by anywhere from $10 to $12 billion a year. For the U.S. taxpayer, that's a good sign.